Good morning, students. Say your prayer. Thank you. நான் ஒரு நல்லாசிரியர். நான் உங்களுக்கு தாயாகவும் தந்தையாகவும் இருந்து முறையாக அன்போடு கல்வியை போதிப்பேன். நான் ஒரு நல்லாசிரியர். நான் உங்களுக்கு தாயாகவும் தந்தையாகவும் இருந்து முறையாக அன்போடு கல்வியை போதிப்பேன். நான் ஒரு நல்லாசிரியர். நான் உங்களுக்கு தாயாகவும் தந்தையாகவும் இருந்து முறையாக அன்போடு கல்வியை போதிப்பேன். Okay, students, take your social science book and take page number 132. So today we will move to geography, unit 6, industries. So what is an industry? So industry is nothing but so industry is a process by which the raw materials are changed into finished product. So naturally we have only the raw materials. So it can't be used by human beings. It should be converted, or it should be transformed, or it should be changed into an usable product. So industry is a place where these raw materials were converted into usable product. So in this unit you are going to learn about the nature and the importance of industries, and how the industries are classified, and the factors responsible for the location of industries, and also classification of industries. Okay, so first you learn about the importance of industries, then the basic economic activities. Economic activities, then responsible for factors responsible for the location of industries, and also the types of industries. So how the industries are classified, you will learn from this unit. Then learning objectives. So what are you going to learn from this unit? So first, to know about the nature and the importance of industries. To know about the nature and the importance of industries. So why we need industries? So why a country need industries? So we learn about the importance of the industries. Then to understand the general classification of economic activities. So how economically the country, so the industries are classified. So general classification of economic activities. So how the economic activities are generally classified. Then to identify the factors responsible for the location of industry. So where the industry is located, so the factors responsible for the location of industry. Then to study about the classification of industries. So how the industries were classified. So learning objectives, you are going to learn. So to know about the nature and the importance of industries, to understand the general classification of economic activities, to identify the factors responsible for the location of industries, then to study about the classification of industries. So introduction. So this lesson starts as like in a classroom. So Anbu and Kabilan, so were the two students, so they were studying 8th standard, so like you. So one day, so it was raining while they were playing in the school playground. So one day, so Anbu and Kabilan were playing in the school ground. So during the time it was raining, so they started running towards the classroom. So Kabilan planned to stay under a nearby tree in the rain and called Anbu to accompany with him. So they started. So when it was raining, so they started running towards their classroom. But Kabilan, so he want to stay under a nearby tree in the ground. So he called Anbu to join with him. So but Anbu refused, saying that lightning may strike the tree. So finally they decided and reached the classroom. So they saw an attractive new cotton towel in the classroom. So Anbu and Kabilan, so they were playing in the ground. So suddenly rain came. So they run towards the classroom. So when they reached the classroom, they saw an attractive new cotton towel in the classroom. So they used the towel for wiping their head. But other students in the classroom said to them, so the towel was brought by the teacher and you have made it wet. So she might be shout at you. So in order to please the teacher, Kabilan asked the teacher some questions. He said, Madam, so this towel is so cute and colorful. From where did you buy this? How is it made? So the teacher was very happy and started explaining the raw materials used and the way it was manufactured and marketed. So the Anbu and Kabilan, so in order to please the teacher, so they asked how the towel was made. So from where you bought this and how it was made. So the teacher was happy by these questions, and she began to explain the class. So began to explain how the towel was made and about the industries. So industry, what is meant by industry? So industry is a process by which the raw materials are changed into finished product. So industry is a process by which the raw materials, so naturally available raw materials are converted into finished product. Yeah. So many raw materials are not fit for the human consumption. So many raw materials available natural are not so fit for human consumption. Yeah. So therefore there is a need for conversion. So this transformation of commodities from one form to another form is the essence of manufacturing industry or the secondary group of economic activities. So industries, so they came under the secondary group of economic activity. So primary group includes the collection of raw materials. So secondary group, it includes the industries. So the commodities, the raw materials can be changed from one form to another form. That is from raw material to usable form. So they can be done in the industries only. So they are considered as the secondary economic activities. So arrival of science and technology helped the man to fabricate. So to fabricate means so to make or produce goods, equipments, so from various material. So the science and technology, so the improvement in science and technology so helped the man to fabricate, so to produce the raw materials into finished product. So the economic strength of a country is always measured by the development of manufacturing industries. So how can we say a country is a developed country or developing country? It is based on the manufacturing industries. So therefore any country in the world is basically depends on the effective growth of industries for its economic development. So if the country have more number of industries means then they can convert their raw materials into finished product and it was used by the people. So it is considered as the developed country. So the number of industries, so the number of the manufacturing industries is essential for the economic growth of a country. So industry is a process by which the raw materials are converted into finished product. So raw materials so are not fit for the human consumption. So therefore they should be transferred into usable form. So this is the essence of manufacturing industry or the secondary group of economic activities. So the economic strength of a country is so measured by the development of manufacturing industry. So therefore, so for any country so which is developing, so they need manufacturing industries. Economic activity. So what is meant by economic activity? So any action that involves the production, distribution, consumption or service is an economic activity. So any action or any activity that involves in the production, distribution, consumption or services is called as economic activity. So any activity that involves the production, distribution, consumption or services is considered as the economic activity. So basics of economic activity. So economic activities is classified into 5 types. So primary economic activity, so example raw cotton production. Then secondary economic activities, so industries like spinning mill. Then tertiary economic activities, so example trade and transport. So quaternary activities, so that is banking sector. Then fourth one quinary activities, example judiciary sector. So we will discuss one by one. So the basics of economic activity. So the major and fundamental economic activities are classified as primary economic activities, secondary economic activities, tertiary economic activities, quaternary economic activities, then quinary economic activities. So initially there was only 3 sectors, so primary, secondary and tertiary. So the modern world have added so 2 more economic activities, so quaternary then quinary. First, primary economic activity. So these are the economic activities which have been originated in the very beginning. So these are the economic activities. So primary economic activity, so originated in the very beginning. So in the ancient period itself it have originated. So it includes the activities such as forestry, grazing, hunting, food gathering, fishing, agriculture, mining and quarrying. So primary economic activity, so the activities which have been originated in the very beginning, so in the very beginning of the history. It includes the activity such as forestry, grazing. So grazing, so nothing but so rearing of the animals, so like cattle. Then hunting, so hunting the wild animals in the forest. Then food gathering, then fishing, agriculture, mining and quarrying. So these are the primary activities. Then secondary economic activities. So secondary activities are those that change the raw materials into usable product through processing and manufacturing. So secondary economic activity. So these are the activities that change the raw materials into usable product. So through processing and manufacturing. So say for example, so bakeries, so that make flour. So flour means Yeah, say powder, so like wheat powder or so some other agri powder. Yeah, so agriculture product powder. Yeah, so bakeries that make flour into bread and factories that change metals and plastics into vehicles are examples of secondary activities. So secondary economic activity, so the activities that change the raw materials into usable product. So primary means so it related with the nature. So obtain the raw materials is called as primary activity. Secondary activity that convert the raw material into usable product. So bakeries that make flour into bread and factories that change the metals and plastics into vehicles are examples of secondary activities. Tertiary economic activity. So tertiary economic activity, it is also called as service sector. So service industry. So tertiary economic activities are those that provide essential service and support to the industries to function. So tertiary economic activity, the economic activity that provide essential support. So that provide essential support and services to the secondary and primary sectors. So often it is called as service sector. So tertiary economic activity includes transportation, finance, utilities, education, retail, housing, medical and other services. So say for example, we are educated by school, so we get education in school. So since schools is doing service, it comes under tertiary activity. So schools come under tertiary activity because they provide so essential service and support. So in the schools you get education. So in future you may go for job, so only because of getting education. So where you get education, so basic education you get from school only. No, so that's why so school is considered as the service sector. Then fourth one, quaternary economic activity. So they are associated with the creation and the transfer of information, including research and training. So quaternary activities are associated with the creation and the transfer of information, including research and training. So often they are called as information industry. So this level has been dramatic growth as a result of advancement in technology and electronic display and transmission of information. So quaternary economic activity. So they are also called as information industry. So they are associated with the creation and transfer of information. So they create the news and transfer it. So the news include research and training. So because of the development in technology and electronic display and transmission of information, so this has been grown well. So example, we watch television. So the programs are telecasted from television stations. It is an example for quaternary activity. So we watch television. So how the programs are telecasted? From television station. So these are example for quaternary activity. Quinary economic activity, the last one. So quinary economic activities refer to the high-level decision-making process by executive in industries, business, education, and government. So they refer to the high-level decision-making process. So this sector include top executive officials in the field of science and technology, universities, healthcare, etc. So quinary economic activity so refers to the high-level decision-making. So this sector include so top officials in the field of science and technology, universities, healthcare, etc. In our home, our parents purchase household articles and make decisions by themselves in some situations. Similarly, the Council of Ministers take decisions to introduce various people welfare schemes in the state. So these two are examples for quinary activity. So quinary activity, so the decision making process comes under quinary activities. So the decision so maybe take in our home, so our parents so take decision in some situation. So like that, so our government, so our ministers so take decision in some situation. So they are example for so quinary activities. So the economic activity, so the basics of economic activity we discussed: primary, secondary, tertiary, quaternary, then quinary. So next factors responsible for the location of industries. So industries so are complex in nature, so they are not simple. So the industries are complex in nature, so they are influenced by the availability of many factors. So industries location is decided by is influenced by so many factors. So they include raw materials, land, water, labor, capital, power, transport, and market. So these are essential for starting upon industry. So the industries need raw materials, so they need land, so they require water, so and also they need labor. So then we need capital, that is money to invest. Then we need continuous supply of power. Then transport facilities. Then market. So these factors only so decides the location of an industry. So normally the locational factors of industries are grouped into two. So normally it is classified into two. So one is geographical factor and another one is non-geographical factor. So first we will discuss about the geographical factors. So the geographical factors, so they include raw material, power, labor, transport, storage and warehousing, topography, climate and water resources. So normally the locational factors of industries are grouped into two, geographical factor and non-geographical factor. So first the geographical factors, so they include the raw material, power, labor, transport, storage and warehousing, topography, climate and water resources. Raw material. So bulky goods and weight lossing materials cannot be transported for long distances. So bulky goods. So the goods which have more weight. So heavy weight goods. And also the materials. So the raw materials. So which lost their weight soon. So cannot be transported for long distances. So therefore industries like iron and steel. So the iron and steel. So they are bulky goods. And sugar industries. So they are weight lossing material. So these industries like iron and steel and sugar industries are located near the place of availability of iron ore and sugar cane respectively. So that's why so steel plant in Salem is located near Kanjamalai because iron ore is available in Kanjamalai. Similarly, sugar industries are located near the sugar cane growing area. So because sugar cane is a weight lossing material. So if you transported it for a long distance means so during transport. So because of the sunlight. So the sugar content may get vaporized. So the weight will lose. So that's why the sugar cane industries are located near the field. And the same way, so iron and steel, so they are bulky goods. If you transport from one place to another place which is too much distance means it is also a heavy loss. So that's why so the iron and steel industries are located near the iron ore mining areas. So the raw materials also decides the location of an industry. Then power. So continuous regular supply of power is essential for running the industries. So because power is based and essential to run the entire industry. So power is generated from the conventional sources like coal, mineral oil and water. So power is mostly generated from the conventional sources. So they cause pollution. So they are generated from the sources like coal, mineral oil and water. So any one of these sources must be located near the industries to fulfill its power requirement. So the conventional source of power, so they are located near the industries in order to fulfill its power requirement. So power is essential for the starting or running an industry. Then labor. So industries we need so human labor. So in order to work, so they need labors. So availability of cheap and skilled labor is another important requirement for the labor intensive industries. Say for example tea industry. So have you visited or have you heard about tea industries? So in hilly regions, so like Ooty, so you see, so the labors, so they plug the tea leaf. So for the plugging of tea leaves, so we need humans. So it cannot be done by machines. So we need humans. So in some industries there should be labors should be available. So cheap and skilled labor is necessary for the starting an industry. So best example is tea industry. Transport. So it is needed for transporting the raw materials to the industries and also for sending the finished product to the market. So transport. So it is necessary. Yes, it is needed for transporting the raw materials to the industries and also for sending the finished product to the markets. So availability of easy transportation so always influences the location of an industry. So transport facility should be good because so then only we can so transport the raw materials to the industries and also so send the finished product to the market. So the junction points of waterways, roadways and railways become active centers of industrial activity. So transport is needed for the transporting raw materials to the industries and also for sending the finished product to the market. So availability of easy transportation always influence the location of an industry. So transport facilities must be developed well. So then only we can transfer the raw materials to the industries and then the finished product to the market. Then storage and warehousing. So the finished product should reach the market at the end of the process of manufacturing. So storage and warehousing, the finished goods, so they should reach the market at the end of the process of manufacturing. So hence such finished products should be stored at a suitable storage till the goods are taken to the market. So the finished goods should be reach the market at the end of the process of manufacturing. So they won't produce just a simple good and transfer it. So they make a lot of goods, and store it in a proper place. Then only they transfer to the market. So for storing the goods, they need the storehouses. So the finished products should be stored at a suitable storage house till the goods are taken to the market. So whenever there is a demand means, then they transfer the goods from the industry or from the storehouse. Or otherwise they just kept the products in the storage house itself. So in order to store the materials, they need the storage or warehousing. Then topography, that is the land feature. So the availability of land. The site that is selected for the establishment of industry must be flat. So the site, the place that is selected for the establishment or building an industry must be flat. So it can be well served by different modes of transport. So the land is flat mean only, then it is suitable for constructing a industry. And also it is suitable for different modes of transport. So if a industry is located in a hilly areas means, then how it is possible? It is very difficult to construct an industry now. Then transport facilities is also difficult. If you construct an industry, if you build an industry in a flat surface means, it is very easy to construct, and also it can be well served by the different modes of transport. So topography is also an important geographical factor for the location of an industry. Then climate. So climate of the area selected for an industry is one of the most important factor. So climate of the area selected for an industry is also one of the most important factor. So extreme climate condition, so maybe too hot or maybe too cold, it is not suitable for the successful industrial growth. So extreme climate condition is not suitable for the successful industrial growth. Moreover, so there are certain industries which require a specific climate. So normally extreme climate condition, so that means too much hot climate or too much cold climate, it is not suitable for the successful industrial growth. But some industries, so they require a specific climate. So say for example, so cotton textile industry, so they require cool humid climate. So cotton textile industry, they require so cool humid climate. So that's why Coimbatore and Tirupur, so which are located near the Nilgiris, that is the Western Ghats. So they are suitable for the cotton textile industries. So Coimbatore and Tirupur have cool humid climate. So that's why many cotton textile industries are located in this zone. So especially in the Coimbatore district. So most of the textile industries are located in Coimbatore Tirupur region. So because of the availability of cool humid climate. Then the final geographical factor, water resources. So availability of water is another important factor that influences the industrial growth. So many industries are established near rivers, canals and lakes for this region. So availability of water is another important factor that influences the industrial growth. So that's why many industries are established near rivers, canals and lakes. Iron and steel industry, textile industry and chemical industries require plenty of water, so for their proper functioning. So that's why these industries are located near the rivers or canals. So availability of water is another important factor that influences the industrial location. Many industries are established near rivers, canals and lakes for the region. Iron and steel industries, textile industries, chemical industries require the plenty of water, so for their proper functioning. So geographical factors, they include raw material, power, labor, transport, storage and warehousing, topography, climate, then water resources. Then the non-geographical factors. So the non-geographical factors includes capital, availability of loan, government policies and regulation. So non-geographical factors includes capital, availability of loan, government policies and regulations. So not only the geographical factors so decide the location of an industry, but the non-geographical factors, they are also essential for the establishment of an industry. So what are the non-geographical factors? So capital, availability of loan and government policies and regulations. So first capital. So capital, that is money. So huge investment is needed for the establishment of industries, without which no industry can be established. So industries, they need huge capital, so huge investment. So capital or huge investment is needed for the establishment of industries, without which no industry can be established. So without capital, so we can't start or run an industry. So capital is necessary for the establishment of industries. Availability of loan. So in most cases, it is not possible to start an industry with enough capital in hand. So availability of loan in most cases, generally, so the cash so we have, so it is not enough to start an industry. So the investors want loan. So the investors seek loan to start the industries. Thus the organizational setup which provides loan and insurance are required. So capital is necessary for the starting of an industry. But the cash, the capital in our hand is not enough to start an industry. So the investors seek loan to start the industries. So thus the organizational setup which provides loan and insurance are required to start the industry. So availability of loan is necessary for the establishment of an industry. Then government policies and regulations. So government policies are another important factor that supports the industrial location. So the government set certain restrictions, certain rules in the allocation of land for industries in order to reduce regional disparity, to control excessive pollution, and to avoid the excessive clustering. So clustering means to form a group or to come into a group. So clustering of industries in big cities. So the policies also affect the industrial location. So the non-geographical factor. So government policies and regulations. So government policies are another important factor that influences the industrial location. So the government set certain restrictions in the allocation of land for the industries in order to reduce the regional disparities and to control excessive pollution, and also to avoid the excessive clustering of industries in big cities. So the policies of the government also affect the location of an industry. So till now we discussed about the factors responsible for the location of industries, geographical factor, then non-geographical factor. So next we will move to the classification of industries. So how the industries are classified. So classification of industries. So how are the industries classified? So industries are classified on various bases on the following ways. So industries are classified in the following ways. So first on the basis of raw materials, then on the basis of size, and also on the basis of ownership. So industries are normally classified into various types. So generally they are classified on the basis of the source of raw material, then on the base of the size, then on the base of the ownership. So first we will discuss about on the basis of raw materials. So on the basis of raw materials, so the industries are classified as agro-based industry, mineral-based industry, marine-based industry, then forest-based industry. So the raw materials, so they used by the industry. So the based on the raw materials used by the industries, they are classified as agro-based industry, mineral-based industry, marine-based industry, then forest-based industry. So first agro-based industry, so that is agriculture-based industries. So these industries used plant and animal-based product. So agro-based industries use plant and animal-based. So from the agri products, so from the primary products. So they use the plants and animal based product as their raw materials. So example, food processing, vegetable oil, cotton textile, dairy product. So dairy product, so example for animal based product. So cotton textile, vegetable oil, so they are example for plant based product. So they are considered as the agro based industries. So they need so the raw materials from the plant and animal based product. Okay, so they are called as agro based industries. Then mineral based industries. So these are the industries that use mineral ore as their raw material. So mineral based industries means so they use minerals as their mineral ore as their raw material. So iron made from iron ore is the product of mineral based industry. So cement, machine tools, etc. are other examples of machine based industries. So mineral based industry, they need mineral ore as their raw material. So they need so the mineral ore. So say for example iron industry, so they need iron ore. So they are example for mineral based industry. Then marine based industry, so these industries use products from the sea and oceans as raw materials. So marine means so they need so the raw materials from available in sea and ocean. So example, processed seafood, fish oil manufacturing units, etc. So marine based industry, these industries use products from the sea and oceans as raw materials. Example, processed seafood, so seafood. Then fish oil manufacturing, so they obtain the raw materials from seas and oceans. Then the forest-based industries. So these industries use forest product as their raw material. So forest-based industry, they use forest product as their raw material. Example: pulp and paper, furniture, and some pharmaceutical industries. So best example: furniture industry. So they got their raw material. So the furniture industries, they need trees, they need wood. Yeah. So they use the forest product as their raw material. So that's why they are called as forest-based industries. So on the basis of raw materials, so industries are classified as agro-based industry, mineral-based industry, marine-based industry, then forest-based industry. Then on the basis of size and capital, industries are classified as large scale industry, then small scale industry. Yes, apart from that, so household industries are also there. So on the basis of size and capital, industries are classified as large scale industry, then small scale industries. So or some industries are classified as cottage industries. So cottage industries means so household industries. So large scale industries. So the capital required for the establishment of industry is more than 1 crore. So then the industry is called as large scale industry. So the capital, the money required for the establishment of industry is more than 1 crore means then it is called as large scale industry. So example: iron and steel industry, oil refineries, cement and textile industries are the best example for large scale industries. So on the basis of size and capital, so industries are classified as large scale, small scale. Yes, large scale means so the capital required for the establishment of large scale industries is more than 1 crore. So example: iron and steel, cement industries. Yes, so they require so huge capital. They are called as large scale industries. Then small scale industries. So the capital required for the establishment of industry is less than 1 crore means they are called as small scale industry. Example: silk weaving, then household industries. So they belong to small scale industries category. So large scale industry, they require more than 1 crore. So they require the capital of more than 1 crore. Small scale industry, so the capital required is less than 1 crore. So example for small scale industry is so silk weaving. Then, so apart from the above industries, so large scale and small scale industries, so cottage or household industries are also a type of small scale industry where the products are manufactured by hand by the artisans with the help of family members. So cottage industries, so they are the industries. So they are manufactured by the hand or by the artisans within the family members. So these industries are also classified and grouped as miscellaneous categories. Example: basket weaving, pot making, handicraft, etc. So large scale, they require investment of more than 1 crore. So they need a large area of land. So example: iron and steel. Then small scale industry, they require less than 1 crore. So silk weaving, then household industries. So they are considered as so small scale industries. Apart from small scale industries, there are cottage industries. So they require the products so manufactured in the home itself. So just they need the artisans were in the where the family members only. So they are classified and grouped as miscellaneous industries. So miscellaneous categories. So best example for the cottage industries are basket weaving, pot making, then handicraft, etc. Then industries, so classified on the basis of ownership. So industries classified first on the basis of raw materials, then on the basis of size and capital, then finally on the basis of ownership. It is classified as private sector, public sector, joint sector, then cooperative sector. So on the basis of ownership, industries are classified as private sectors, then public sector, joint sector, then cooperative sectors. So private sector industries. So these type of industries are owned and operated by the individuals or a group of individuals. So private sector means they are owned or they are run by the private persons or a private group. So example: Reliance, Bajaj Auto. So like that. So these companies are owned by so private individuals, so private persons. So that's why they are called as private sector industries. Public sector, so these are operated and owned by the government. So public sector means so this type of industries are owned and operated by the government. So example: Hindustan Aeronautic Limited, Bharat Heavy Electrical Limited, Steel Authority of India. So they are public sector industries. So they are owned and operated by the government. So if you take Reliance, Bajaj Auto, they are run and owned by the private persons. So they are called as private sector. If you take Bell, that is Bharat Heavy Electrical Limited, then Hindustan Aeronautic Limited, then Steel Authority of India. So they are the examples for public sector industries. Then joint sector industries. So these type of industries are owned and operated jointly by the government and individuals or a group of individuals. So joint sector means so both private and public. So these are joined. These are owned and operated jointly by the government and private persons. Example: Indian Oil Sky Tanking Limited, Indian Synthetic Rubber Limited, Mahanagar Gas Limited, then Maruti Udyog, etc. So joint sector industries. These type of industries are owned and operated jointly by the government and individuals or a group of individuals. So they are run by both private and public. So private and government. Then last one, cooperative sector. So industries of this kind are owned and operated by the producers or suppliers of raw materials or workers or both. So cooperatives means, so they are owned and operated by the producers or supplier of raw materials. So those who supply the raw materials, so they run this industry. So they are called as cooperative industry. So best example, Amul. So have you heard about Amul? So Anand Milk Union Limited, so which was in Gujarat. It is the example for cooperative sector. So these industries was run by the people. So who supply the milk to the industry. So this is best example for cooperative sector industry. So industries of this kind are owned and operated by the producers or supplier of raw materials or workers or both. So Amul Anand Milk Union Limited is the best example of the cooperative sector. Thus, on the basis of ownership, industries are classified as private sector, public sector, joint sector, then cooperative sector. So private sector, so it was owned and operated by the private persons. Example, Reliance. Public sector, these are owned and operated by the government. Example, Bharat Heavy Electrical Limited. Joint sector, so these are owned and operated jointly by the private persons along with the government. So example, Indian Oil Sky Tanking, then Mahanagar Gas Limited. Cooperative sector, so these are owned and operated by the supplier of raw materials or workers or both. Example, Amul, so which was in Gujarat. So these are the best example for ownership industries. Okay students, so today's class we have completed industry. Industry is a place of process by which the raw materials are changed into finished product. Then we discussed about the economic activity. So economic activity, so any action that involves the production, distribution, consumption or service in an activity. So normally economic activity is classified as primary economic activity, secondary economic activity, tertiary economic activity, then quaternary economic activity, then quinary economic activity. Then we discussed about the factors affecting the location of industry. So normally the factors affecting the location of industries are raw materials, capital, land, water, labor, power supply, transport and market. Then finally we discussed how the industries are classified. So first, on the basis of source of raw material, industries are classified as agro-based, mineral-based, marine-based, then forest-based. Then on the basis of size, so industries are classified as large-scale industry which require more than 1 crore rupees of capital. So then small-scale industries which require less than 1 crore of amount of money. Then on the basis of ownership, industries are classified as public sector industry, private sector industry, joint sector industry, then cooperative sector industries. Okay students, take your book. So take page number 134. Textbook reading. So read the factors responsible for the location of industries, geographical factors. Then homework. So try to complete your book back exercise. So 1 mark. So I will send you the answers in PDF. Thank you students. Have a nice day.